Murder, torture and violent poltergeists await the most haunted team in London.
Hello and welcome to Most Haunted. This week I've brought you to London and to a place that has many ghost sightings, from dark shadows to children playing. Many staff members are so terrified they leave and absolutely refuse to return. With all this in mind, I just had to bring you to the London Dungeon.
Situated on the south side of the Thames, the area around London Bridge was one of the earliest settlements to exist in the capital. What little history that is known of this immense building confirms that these railway arches supported London's first passenger railway line, before more recently serving as a stable block, wine cellar and possibly an orphanage. What is clear though is that the area surrounding the Tooley Street site gained notoriety for many illegal acts. From a 17th century site for bear, dog and cockfighting to a 21st century tourist attraction that offers a visual history of the capital's past.
Well, here we are in what's for me one of the strangest places, because the whole of this place, the London Dungeons, is, for want of a better word, a fake. It's all been reconstructed. But from 1836, these were nothing more than railway arches. But before that, there were various things like coaching inns, brothels, and a phenomenal amount of trauma, I would imagine, that went on in this area. So there's bound to be ghosts.
This is the pre-plague area where the apparition of a man and two children are seen on a regular basis, and then they mysteriously disappear.
In the 1500s, St. Thomas More and Thomas Cromwell decided it was time for an English version of the Bible. And here, on this very spot, where the London Dungeons stand now, this is where that edition of the Bible was first created.
This is the execution dock, and it's also a boat ride. Now, many people that take the ride feel uneasy. They feel that eyes are upon them and they're never quite on their own. They also experience unexplained whistling noises.
In those days, of course, the word hospital had a different meaning. It was a place of hospitality. Infirmaries were for the sick. But by the time of Henry VIII, this place had a ward or dormitory for unmarried mothers, and also treated hundreds and hundreds of prostitutes with all sorts of sexually transmitted disease. Henry VIII had this place closed down. He referred to it as a bawdy house and had it wiped off the face of the earth.
There are many strange occurrences here in the mortuary area. Many people report being pushed by unseen hands. They also report seeing these two mannequins move on their own. And strangely enough, two of our crew members are saying that they have actually experienced something similar. But perhaps the most disturbing apparition is a third man, not a mannequin. He appears between these two waxwork dummies and looks up and down this unfortunate body.
During the Second World War, these arches, Stainer Street and Tooley Street, were used as air raid shelters, and there was a direct hit by a German bomb on this area, and they believe that up to 67 people actually died. Some of those people, some of their bodies, were never found, and they believe that they're actually still behind some of the brickwork here.
Many people have witnessed the tall, dark, shadowy shape of a man, closely followed by a Victorian dress, moving quickly and disappearing around corners as though being chased. People have also heard the sounds of children crying, although the dungeons are closed to the public. They've also seen children playing Ring-a-Ring-a-Roses in this, the Jack the Ripper area.
So we are faced with an intriguing investigation. This is not a happy environment, yet none of the related horror is at all linked to the building. Recreations of rivers of death, witch trials and Jack the Ripper simply bear no factual relation to the dungeons. And that's a scenario that particularly interests parapsychologist Kieran O'Keefe.
Kieran, the London Dungeons has to be one of the more unusual places to investigate.
Yeah, it is a parapsychologist's nightmare because there's so much history here in exhibit form. You've got a lot of suggestion, so there's a great expectancy of what you might see here, and it's a nightmare to try and separate that from true apparitions or true experiences that people have, but at the same time it's an exciting and fascinating place.
If you were to walk around here, what would be the first thing that would come to you? What sort of presence would be here in this particular place?
It's instantly a very, very negative place. There's so much nastiness, so much evil, torture, blood, gore. So instantly you're going to come up with a nasty, evil person. And so if you associate all of the stereotypes with that evil person, it's going to be a man, it's going to be a mysterious man, it's going to be somebody dressed in black, presumably. All of these different things I'd expect a medium to come up with.
And of course in the history books this place never was a torture chamber.
No.
It never was a dungeon, so again that would be very interesting.
Yeah, it's a great place. There's a lot of information here around about the torture, about Jack the Ripper, and purposely we've left that information up because it's not actually associated with this place. These are just exhibits that have been set up. So we're not giving anything away to the mediums. If they come up with anything about Jack the Ripper, then like I said, it may be this thought form or psi-field theory that I talked about, or they may be just reading too much into the information that's around them.
Unfortunately, this particular investigation was disturbed by several peripheral audibles. Most notably, London's railways, noisy boilers, as well as Kieran's EMF meter, which regularly emits a high-pitched tone, all of which contributed to some inferior recorded sound. But whether they yet know it or not, the facade behind this week's location does represent a real test for the psychic powers of our spiritualist mediums Derek Acora and David Wells. With reenactments of some of the London's bloodiest crimes surrounding us, we nervously and expectantly headed underground and into the maze that is the London Dungeon.
This area now, there's a lot of noises, sounds that would be heard in this area. A lot of them, not just one. I feel a mixed array of noises. I feel you'd also hear screaming, and also I get a tinge of, you know, like a young child, children screaming, and no laughter. I don't pick up any laughter. It's misery. You know, a lot of the misery that's down in these levels that were caused by man, inflicted to man, woman and children. It's not a cover-up, but it's like saying, ha, talk about the plague, talk about the plague. It's not the plague at all. The misery that's down here is being inflicted by man. And the plague is not in fitting with this dwelling, this building. The plague is not, so what does that mean, Sam? It's like saying, if there are stories talked about plague in this area and what have you, it wasn't prevalent at all. It wasn't. What is written for a reason. The plague was not as prevalent as what in this area.
Okay.
Right.
There's a dummy here of a female, and you know, this is, I don't know, to me this here, and the way what has been shown,
Did you just make a
it's
funny
not by a
noise then?
knife.
What sort of noise? What sort of noise did you hear?
I know the...
You can hear the door creaking
No, it's
slightly.
not that noise. I feel really embarrassed.
I might have heard of
What noise
Right,
did
can
you...
I just explain this?
Yeah,
It sounded like a...
I heard the similar.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
There's a dummy here of a female, and you know, this is, I don't know, to me this here, and the way what has been shown,
Did you just make a
it's
funny
not by a
noise then?
knife, but it's depicting who he would be, and he would definitely be the man, the infamous, you listening, Jack, are you? And that is definitely the man who took away many lives in the close area here. It's got to be close here.
Are you referring to Jack the Ripper?
Yeah, absolutely.
But why would Jack the Ripper be here?